Hello everyone. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, Get Crafty with Sally. My name is Sally Poole. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. And today I'm going to be showing you how you can make this, it's called a faux shutter or a fracture card. And it's a lot easier than it looks. I think they're so pretty. I am going to be using the new Christmas Classics bundle. It is from the upcoming mini catalog, which is September through December 2023. Customers will be able to order from this shortly on September 6th. So that's coming up pretty soon. Let's see. That bundle is actually on page 31 in the new catalog. I can't open the catalog yet since it's not available to the public. We can just show you the front of it. So let me show you the pieces that you're going to need to make this card. I am using a piece of real red cardstock for the base. It is 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. I've got it opening this way. And then a piece of the DSP, and this is from the Joy of Christmas pack. This is on page 29 of the new catalog, and it is part of the Joy of Christmas Sweet collection. There is a whole bundle that goes with that. It's beautiful paper. I also have a 2 1/8 inch square of distressed gold specialty paper, and I have cut that actually with this die. It's from an old framelit set called Stitched Shapes, but it does come out pretty close to 2 1/8 inches. You can actually make these squares whatever size you want. It's not really going to matter. I also have a 1 7/8 inch square of basic white. I almost called it Whisper White. And I have cut it out with this third die from the Stylish Shapes die set. One of my favorite die sets. I also have just a scrap of shaded spruce. It's for the little holly leaves that I have embossed in gold. Also a piece of basic white that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches for the inside of the card. And then you'll just need 4 strips of real red paper. So this is a great card if you have little leftover scraps and chunks of paper that you don't know what to do with. So these are cut at 1/2 inch, and they are actually different sizes. I think they're mainly between 3 1/2 and 4 inches, around there somewhere. So let's get started with this card. Let me take my base and we're going to fold it in half, and I'm going to give it a good crease with my bone folder. I'm going to set this aside. So the main working on this card comes on this piece. This is our Designer Series paper piece. And excuse me, since I planned on making several of these cards. And if you watch my videos, you know how I like to make weird little templates. Let me get a piece of colored paper underneath that. So for those of you that have trouble placing pieces in the center of your card, wondering if they're straight, of course you can always lay down a ruler on top of it on your grid paper and line up these points. But what I did was made a little template. This piece of basic white is 4 inches by 5 1/4, which is the same as this designer series paper. So I just measured halfway in, which is 2 inches, drew a line with a ruler, and then I measured 2 1/4 inches down because I didn't want this focal point right in the center of the card. You could sure put it there. So this is 2 1/4 inches down, and I made a line there. And then I just took it over to my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, laid my die on it, lined up all the points. I guess I could use the die. See if I can find the one that I used. So I lined up the points on my ink lines that I drew and then cut it out. So that should give you a fairly centered placement for your cards. So as we're going along and putting this card together, you can just lay this template over your designer series paper, put some glue on your distressed gold piece, and then lay it in there. So let's do that now. I also, let me interject, I also do have, this is actually going to be 2 layers because I'm going to put this on here and then I'm going to put my sentiment on top of it. You can also do a version of not using the 2 layers, not putting the larger gold piece behind it, and just cutting out a spot for your sentiment. So that's a little bit smaller. It's the same measurements for the template, and I've written single here in 1 inch and 7/8 inches, which is about the size of this square. So you would just do the lines the same way, lay your die on here, match up the points to your lines, and then cut that out. And then you'll have a template for the smaller piece. Hope that makes sense. And I will have pictures and measurements and the supplies that I've used for this card. As usual, they are in the description below this video. So let's get started with this card. I'm going to grab my chair. Okay, so we'll grab our green glue, and it's probably easier to use green glue on this than it is a tape runner. You could use a tape runner because you really don't have to. Hopefully I don't grab the wrong template. You don't really have to have wiggle room. So I'm just gonna lay that in one of the corners, match up the next one, and then lay it down in there. Fits right into that template. So then I can pull the template up. And I've got my square centered on my card front. So it's actually pretty easy, but like I said, you can always eyeball it if you want and just lay it down. So the next thing we're going to do is take are 1/2-inch strips, and these don't have to be 1/2 inch either. They can be 1/4 inch, 3/4, whatever you want to do. And what I like to do, and this is just me, you can start anywhere on here that you want. I like to start with this longer one. And I'm going to grab one of these and just lay it along the edge of this one. I'm going to take my glue, put some of my glue on the back of this strip. Oops, I've already glued it down. Make sure that's up against that gold piece. So I'm going to line this up on this edge of the gold square and give it a press. So the rest of these strips, you can just now place the glue directly on the designer series paper and then lay your pieces down. And you could put a craft mat or silicone mat underneath here to keep your glue from sticking. We're going to cut those ends off in a second. So let's grab our next strip and hope that it's long enough, just barely. We've got some glue sticking out here. Clean that up. And then let's do our last strip. Okay, give all that a good press. I did get some glue on my Real Red cardstock. I do have, let me go grab my eraser in case you don't have one. These erasers are great for getting that glue off. It is a high polymer eraser from Pentel, and I get them from Amazon. So just let this glue dry on here, and then you can just take your eraser and rub it off once it's good and dried. So now let's grab our little snips. And I've been doing these cards and using these scissors, so they're kind of gunked up, but they'll work. So I'm going to flip this over on the back and just go through and cut off all of these little pieces. Trying not to cut the designer series paper. All right, so there's the last one. Now we can take some tape runner, or you can use your glue if you like. I'll just put some tape on the back of this and attach it to our card base. I've got a weird little fuzzy piece sticking up here. See if I can get rid of it. So let's lay this piece down on our card front. Try to get all of the edges even. So now we can take our 1 7/8 inch square. Let's stamp our sentiment on it. The sentiment is from the Christmas Classics stamp set. I'm using the Tidings of Comfort and Joy. It fits in this square perfectly. So I'll ink up my stamp. Try not to stick my head in the camera. Line that up. Give it a good press. And there we go. So let's close our ink up. This is one of the worst colors to get all over everything. I'm sure many of you already know that. So let's take our sentiment that we just stamped. I do have, this is one I did previously, so the ink is good and dry. And then we'll just line it up on the front of our card, and it's pretty easy to see what is square because there are little stitched lines on the distressed gold piece. I don't know if you can see them or not on there. So it's pretty easy to line that up and have a good margin on it. So the next thing we're going to do, you would take your Versamark ink and the little holly leaf stamp from the set. Stamp the holly leaves in Versamark ink, sprinkle on your golden embossing powder, and then heat set it with your heat tool. And then die cut it, and you would have this great little holly leaf die cut. And I think this is one of the, and this is kind of a weird thing to say, out of all the dies that I've used, this one seems to cut pretty evenly on all of the edges. A lot of times, no matter what you do, they don't come out that way. There's always a thicker edge on one side. And anyway, my personal observation, you might not find that to be true. So let's take a little bit of our green glue, put it on the back of these holly leaves. And I am getting glue everywhere. And then I'm just going to lay it down towards the bottom of the sentiment panel. And I am using, these are retired, they are the red rhinestone basic jewels. You can use whatever you want. You could use the iridescent pearls and actually color them red with your Stampin' blends if you wanted. I'm also going to add some champagne rhinestone jewels, so if you have something gold, you could add those. There's also, let me add this one here. There's also holly berries in the stamp set that you can stamp and then die cut those out and add them. And I have an example of that I'll show you in a minute. So there's those. Then I'm going to take my Champagne Rhinestone Basic Jewels. I'm going to add a medium one up here, a smaller one down here, and another small one over here. So there is the front of the card. I don't usually do things on the inside of the card, but I'm going to today. I'm going to take my Shaded Spruce, excuse me, ink pad. This is the 4" by 5 1/4 basic white piece that we had for the inside. I'm using the needle stamp for the inside of the card. This Shaded Spruce ink is pretty saturated, so I'm actually going to stamp it off once, and then I'm going to stamp it on my inside panel and stamp it again. So that just makes a really nice look, I think. And you can see that you can get quite a few stamped images out of one application of ink with that color. So let's take our tape runner again. Get some tape on the back of this panel. And we'll add it to the inside of our card. So what do you think of this card? I really like it, and I love this technique. And as you can see, they're a lot easier to make than you would think. It looks pretty complicated. So let me show you some of the other ones that I've made. I have, this is the first one that I did, and this is in Cherry Cobbler. And then I used the old, I can't remember what they're called, but we had some embellishments with these little gold leaves, and I used them. This one is, and of course I'm using the colors that are in the Designer Series paper. This one is Old Olive, and I still did use the Shaded Spruce for the holly leaves. And excuse me, as you can see, these two do not have the distressed gold panel behind them. They just have the sentiment inserted. Here's a little bit of a different one in the Real Red. So where I would have put the distressed gold panel, I did not. I just left that area open. So what I did was took a, let's see if I can find it here. I don't know what I did with it. You can take a larger cutout, and I had just cut out a piece of Whisper White in the larger square. And if you just put a little bit of that green glue on the back of it, I put it in each of the four corners and let it sit and dry, it just gets kind of sticky, tacky. So you can lay it down on the card front with that template, getting it centered, and then you can put these pieces around it. Then you can pick it back up off the card. It won't be glued to the card, it just is sticky. So then you can put your centerpiece in and finish your card. I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of a nice look too, I think. And then this one might be my favorite. When I was making it, I didn't really like it, but when I finished it, I thought that it looked pretty elegant. So this is just in Whisper White. This one is in Shaded Spruce. I like it too. And then this one, I actually used paper from the Winter Meadow Designer Series paper pack. So this also has a suite collection, and it's on page 37 in the new catalog. So I think that came out kind of pretty too. And then this, I'm glad I gave it a try as well because I learned a good lesson. This is a 6x6 card. I wanted to make it bigger because of these cute polar bear images. But once I got the sentiment square on and I went to lay the strips down, as you can see, the strips would have covered up a lot of my polar bears. So I decided not to do that. So this probably is not a great designer series paper to use on this type of card. You want more of just a standard subtle pattern, I think. So anyway, those are the cards that I have made thus far with the Christmas Classics bundle. I hope you like them, and I hope that you'll give this technique a try. I think it's really great, and they are super fun to make. If you are enjoying my videos and getting anything out of them, please hit the like button, give me the thumbs up, share my videos with your friends and family, and it would be awesome if you would subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell and select all so you'll be notified when I do post new videos. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thank you.